Hi, welcome everybody. I want you to think about the last time you had a conversation with somebody that you were able to walk away from that conversation and just feel really good. Like, I really like talking to that person. We've all talked to those people where we walk away and we're like, oh gosh, that was very, very painful. I don't enjoy talking to them. So what makes the difference? What makes someone really interesting to talk to and what makes somebody not so interesting to talk to? Many of us have never really learned to listen. So I want you to think about how that last conversation went and how much did you talk and how much did you listen? Where did you learn to listen? Most of us learn from our parents. We may have learned in school when teachers had us raise our hands. Unless you really have gotten a counseling degree or a degree in some types of therapies, you probably haven't really been taught to listen. I got my education in listening by attending a workshop to become a business coach with the Direct Selling World Alliance. I absolutely loved my experience with them, so much so that I left the field and started teaching their trainings. One thing that really stuck out to me with their trainings was how to listen intently. They use a phrase that they've coined called heart-centered listening. It's listening with all of your intent and making someone feel and understand and not doubt that you are listening to them. So what's the important thing about listening? Why should we listen? And what should we do? How do we do it? The first part is to listen without distractions. In this world, there's so many people that have phones all the time that you often go into a restaurant or whatever, and there'll be signs that say, we won't serve you unless you put your phones down. Or we won't serve you at the gas station cashier unless you are not talking on their phone. It's an issue. It's so much of an issue that they've had to put signs out. So how and why should we listen? Think about how you feel when you have those really great conversations and you just know that they're listening to you and that you walk away from those conversations feeling important. What are you saying to others when they have conversations with you? How do you make them feel? I have a friend that came over not long ago and we were sitting there talking, and the entire time we were having our conversation, she was on her phone texting. How many of you guys have experienced that? It's something that happens all the time. Think about how you feel when that happens. But how many of you are guilty of doing it? I have to say that I used to be very guilty of it, and occasionally I am because I forget, but I try and remind myself not to, because I don't want to be that person that makes somebody feel horrible like my friend made me feel, because she made me feel like I wasn't important, that whatever she was doing was more important. What was going on her phone. If she was texting, I'm not even sure what she was doing. I just know that I felt like it wasn't important to have a conversation. There was a gentleman that graduated from Harvard MBA program, and he came back and wrote an article called Are You Really Listening? He went out into the workforce and he was a manager of a group of employees, and he went out into this thinking, I just got my degree from Harvard and I got my Harvard MBA. I know what's more important. I know what should be going on, and you guys don't know. So I don't really care about what you say. This was the attitude that he said that he had in this article. But what he realized is things were not going well. Sales were down. People were calling in sick all the time. People were not wanting to be at work. It wasn't a great environment to be in that facility. And so he thought about it, and he thought a lot about what he could do to change. And he decided to change one thing. He decided to change the way he listened to his employees. He started putting his phone away when he was listening to them. He started asking questions. He started not interrupting and letting them finish what they were going to say. Just by doing those few things, he was able to turn his whole department around, and it was a much better place. They were successful. Their sales started going up. People started not calling in sick as often, and everyone was just all around happier. So what are some things that we can do? It is so important that we watch how we're listening. We need to listen and respond with our tone and our body language. You know, my husband can always tell how I'm feeling because he always says, it doesn't matter what you say, I can hear it in your tone. People can. And listening is going to, it's the same way with listening. Are we slumped? You know, do we care? Are we engaged? Are we, engaged with them? What is your body language telling you? There was an article called Active Listening is the Forgotten Dimension in Managerial Communication. And they talked about how it is a two-sided phenomenon. It's not all about the speaker, it's about the listener too. It has to be both ways. And as a manager, it's not all about what he says, but it is how he speaks too. So it's important to remember that it's two-sided. That's those, that attitude has to be there. So let's look at this. Use those technical skills when you talk. What's your body language saying? Your voice inflection. Are you making eye contact when you're talking with them? What is your overall impression that you're giving somebody that you're having a conversation with? Here is a great quote that I love. Will someone read this quote for us? Yes.
Awareness is the starting place for all changes in life.
I love this, because it may have been that you didn't realize that you weren't a good listener, but hopefully now you've gotten some tips that you can realize there's maybe some better things that you can do. Be the change. Don't just accept and move on that maybe you're just not a good listener and it's fine. Put your phone away. Be there. Make eye contact. Let people finish their sentences. Don't cut them off with what you have to say because you feel it's more important. Educate others. Speak about active listening. Speak about to others how you feel when you have that type of conversation with somebody that is such a good listener, so others can be aware because they may not be aware because maybe they've never been educated. Be examples for others to follow. If you can slowly start to change, somebody's going to realize that something's different and they're going to want to know what it is, and you can let them know that you've started to do a few things to be a better listener. So how can you be successful at this? According to Lois Zachary and Lori Fisher in Student Affairs Today, set that stage for active listening. Set it up so that you can succeed. If someone comes into your office and you need to shut your computer screen off so you're not distracted by anything popping up, do it. Turn your phone off, put it in your purse, put it away so where you can't see it. Pay attention to the person, to what they're saying. Acknowledge what they're feeling. Clarify things that they're saying. If somebody says to you, I feel so frustrated, you can return that by saying, I hear that you are frustrated. A big mistake that so many people make is repeat back something that they're not saying. For example, I hear you're very irritated. No, I'm not irritated. I just said I was very frustrated. Use those words so they know that you are listening to them. So try something new. Have a conversation next time and don't try and be the center of that conversation. Sit back, listen, ask questions, starting with who, what, when, where, and how. Get to know others. Be that person that they can walk away from and think, wow, I love talking to her. I feel so great when I have conversations with her. Be that change. It only takes one person to be a change and be an example for someone. I love this last quote. We see the world not as it is, but as we are. So even though a lot of people might be distracted, we can be that change. We can be that, good conversation that we have for somebody, and be that example for others to listen so that others can feel as good as my friend made me feel when I had conversations with him. Thank you.
It went, I was watching.